Hello and welcome to Marital Issues, a podcast about a married couple talking about their favorite comics and films and television shows. My name is Tom, and with me as always, although this time rather sickly, is my wife Dee.
Hello.
Oh, that voice.
I know, it's terrible.
I'll do the heavy lifting on this episode.
Yay.
So I just basically talk to you.
Yes.
I mean, you can whisper your opinions. It's okay. The mics are good enough to pick it up.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So this is why our podcast is like, I think about a week or 2 weeks
Yeah,
late now.
because the boys were sick as well.
We've all been sick.
Yeah, very
we've
ill.
all been sick. Thankfully, I get over these things a little bit faster than you do. It hits you in a much more chronic way.
Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah.
I can't believe how, but then, and eventually you will hear. I mean, it may get better as it goes on, but we'll see.
But this is it. You're not even sick anymore. You've just lost your voice.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm not ill. I'm not actually ill. I can't talk.
Yeah.
Which is really hard when you're trying to tell off your 6-year-old.
Yeah, and it's what's weird as well. whenever this happens to you, you don't lose your voice until you actually get better. Like you'll have
always.
like really bad flu, and then you'll get over it, and suddenly you'll lose your voice.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were supposed to record this last weekend to have it up for Monday, so it was within our 2-week period, but unfortunately, I actually could not talk.
Yeah.
It's taken me a week to get to where I am today.
Which has been nice for me. Am I right, fellas? I'm joking.
Oh my God! Considering what our podcast is about today, that's just no.
But what if I told you that was on purpose? Hang on, let me just move your mic a bit. It's not that you go loud, it's that your voice, that thing in your throat, keeps catching a certain frequency and it peaks on my screen. And
I know, but the thing is, I can hear that in my own head.
Yeah. It's just
Like there's a squeak.
Yeah. So, other than being sick and everything like that, it's all pretty much...
Yeah, it's just been pretty much normal.
I mean, I've been sick in so many different ways. I messed up my neck. It's been 3 weeks for me of different things.
Yeah, that's true.
The first week, so I have rheumatoid arthritis in my neck, and if I catch it in the wrong way, then I'm out of commission for 3 days. And then the following week, I got the same flu as you. And then at the beginning of this week, I got food poisoning.
Yep.
I couldn't take any time off of work for any of it.
Because you're off next week.
Yeah, I'm off all next week. Yay. And we're going to go see Endgame, and
yes.
That's cool. Speaking of Endgame, have you heard?
I did.
You know what? The leaks?
The leaks. I can't believe that happened.
I know. I heard about the leaks a few days ago.
See,
and ever since then, I've been so scared of the internet. I mean, I'm pretty scared of the internet anyway with the kind of people that frequent it. But I was scared of the internet for a whole new reason this week.
Oh, God. But the thing is, the Russo brothers actually went out and said, please don't spoil it for the fans. Don't let out anything. Don't tell anybody anything. Let the fans go and see it, which we wanted to go and do. And then the very next day, this 5-minute footage of somewhere at the last 5 minutes of the film.
I didn't even get that far into my investigation of the story. Like, I was so scared of even reading stories, like news stories about it, just in case some idiot bloody Evening Standard writer would just be like, oh, and by the way, this is how it ends.
You've been stung like that a few times, though.
Yes, I have.
With like things we watch on a regular. At the time it was Arrow. I think the one that popped out to me was Arrow.
No, for me the big one was when I accidentally found out a week before we saw it that Han Solo died in The Force Awakens.
Yes, I remember.
I was like, oh man! I didn't find out how, because I saw the thing that Han Solo dies. I was like, and I quickly noped out of that page. But by that point, it was too late. I knew he died. I didn't know how he died, but I knew he died.
Yeah.
So the whole time I'm watching The Force Awakens, I'm like, is this the scene? Is this? It was basically. Do you remember what we were saying about in Captain Marvel, when we're watching Captain Marvel, we're like waiting for the moment where Nick Fury loses his eye. So every scene where there's some danger, we're like, is this the scene? So that's how I was throughout the whole of The Force Awakens. From the moment he showed up, I'm like, even like when he walked through the door of the Millennium Falcon, he's like, Chewie, we're home. I'm like, is this the scene?
Some stormtrooper like, got accurate aim this time round.
Yeah, the only time a stormtrooper manages to hit something. And he's not even around, you know. The stormtrooper, like they cut to a scene of 2 weeks earlier, and a stormtrooper accidentally falls over and he shoots his blaster into space, and now this beam is just flying through space until it hits something, until it eventually hits Harrison Ford. So I've been very even when I'm scrolling through Twitter or anything like that.
I've tried to stay away from social media lately. So
the sooner we see that movie, the better.
Well, hopefully, yes.
Yeah. What was the other thing that happened where we got a spoiler by accident? You accidentally found out something. You do that a lot. You're going through IMDb and you're looking at the trivia or something we're watching, and then you're like, and then I see you suddenly put your phone down, and it's at that moment I know you've tripped on a spoiler.
I hate doing that.
Well, that's what you get for spending your whole time watching a new thing, sitting on the IMDb trivia page.
I like IMDb, but the thing is, it's do you know why I like? It's when it's I know that face. Where do I know that face from?
Yeah, but
I do that a lot.
Yeah, but we do that a lot anyway because we watch so many different things. It's but generally speaking, we've seen them in an episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yes. If we can't figure out where it is we saw them, 9 times out of 10, it's an episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
So speaking of Star Wars.
Speaking of Star Wars.
We were supposed to watch the trailer before we did.
Never mind, it's not like we've forgotten what the trailer was about.
All I know is it had the Watch Out Danger track from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse on it, and I think it was a really good choice for them. It kind of really sets the tone for the next. It's a bit of a departure. I was expecting some John Williams in there. I'm used to John Williams, but it's a nice. I feel like it's like a fresh direction for the
Star Wars fans are just going to kill you right now.
I know. I wanted to see how long I could take that before realising I've dug myself into a very deep hole and we're going to end up with lots of hater comments. The Star Wars trailer came out and then someone recut it to What's Up Danger from Spider-Man, and what a perfect...
It went really, really well.
I think film companies should just start letting fans cut trailers, because
fan trailers are amazing.
I know that a Star Wars trailer to cut to that song, I'm not expecting that. That's. Oh no!
There goes baby.
All right, baby break.
No, did he settle himself?
Is he going to settle? Yep, he settled himself.
There we go.
So okay, serious talk now. The
trailer, Rise of Skywalker.
The name has been revealed. The Rise of Skywalker.
But
what do you think that means?
Could mean so many things.
Obviously, but what do you think? What do you think it means?
I don't know. I don't know if Luke's coming back again, or if Kylo changes allegiance. Reclaims Skywalker as in terms of being a Jedi rather than Sith. Or is it that they become a grey?
Yeah, see that's my...
A grey Jedi.
See, that was my initial thought, that Skywalker now becomes the name of this new form of Jedi. You know, the last film kind of established that extremes,
extremes don't work.
Yeah, extremes don't work. Being on one end of the spectrum or the other end of the spectrum doesn't work. There's this grey area. The world is a lot more nuanced than that. Indeed. And the only way any form of peacekeeping force, wrong word for peacekeepers, but any kind of peacekeeping initiative, it can't be binary. It has to be more sort of grey.
Yeah,
I think instead of saying grey Jedi, I think they're going to rebrand themselves as Skywalker.
I don't think it's Rey being Skywalker. No, I really hope they don't go in that direction.
See, I really hope that they don't revert it back to, because that's the thing I loved most about The Last Jedi, is the fact that it turns out Rey's family were nothing.
Which means Jedis can be anyone.
Yeah, it takes away the whole bloodline thing, the whole dynasty thing. It's just it's greatness can rise from that, which is basically the story of Anakin. You know, he was a slave boy who became the chosen one. I mean, I'm not saying Darth Vader was like a hero or anything. What I'm saying is he went from being a slave child to being the most powerful Sith, other than the Emperor, and the leader of the Empire.
Yeah.
Well, the leader's right-hand man. And so this idea that you have to be of a bloodline in order to attain greatness, that's never really sat well with me in any sci-fi or fantasy. I hate this idea of bloodlines and things like that. I like the idea of your heroes and your masters or whatever coming from anywhere. You know, they could come from royalty, fine, but they could also they could be little boys who sweep stables on Las Vegas planets and things like that. I hope they don't abandon that.
I agree.
So this week's drink of choice we should mention is a rather large bottle of Corona.
710 ml.
Yep. It's I
love Crowe.
It
smells like weed.
Yeah. It's going down nicely, isn't it?
But then again, we have had a glass of
we had a glass of
Prosecco earlier.
Cava, darling.
Cava. It's Prosecco.
It said Cava on the bottle.
Yeah, it was Prosecco.
Don't drink explain me, okay? It said Cava on the bottle. It's a Cava Brut. Alright?
Anyway, we're going off point.
Yeah.
Should we go back? Back?
Yeah, let's go back to the trailer for episode 9. Darth Sidious is back.
Yes.
How?
How? Yes. How? Isn't he dead?
Yeah, remember Darth Vader threw him down a big old hole in and then he got blown up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's literally, there is precedent in the Star Wars universe where Sith in particular, their spirits attach themselves to relics and things like that.
But aren't they obsessed with trying to
cheat death?
Cheat death.
Yeah, which is what the tragedy of Darth Plagueis was, that he was able to control death, except for when it came to his own Padawan murdering him, but his own student. Yeah. And his student was Darth Sidious, was the Emperor, was Palpatine. So maybe that's what they're doing. That is a very sort of handy little writing loophole that he studied under Darth Plagueis. So it does give them a little bit of wiggle room with bringing him back.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he may have attached his spirit to an artifact, and because they do turn up in the trailer, you see ruins of one of the Death Stars, and I'm thinking it might be the one from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So maybe his spirit has attached itself to something in there.
Yeah.
And not only that, but Rebels introduced the time travel with the world between worlds. So who knows? Who knows? I mean, the thing is as well, though, they can't bring in time travel in this film because there are quote-unquote real fans who have never watched Rebels. Because for them it's not quote-unquote real Star Wars.
Love Rebels.
Maybe we should move on to something without a huge fan base.
And talk about Endgame. No.
Talk about Tango.
Tango.
So this week, on our last episode we talked about Captain Marvel, which is a superhero action heroine, or female action hero.
Set in the 90s.
I hate the word heroine.
So do I. It's such a terrible word.
Yeah.
But
yeah, set in the mid-90s. So we decided to watch a bunch of 90s action movies starring female action heroes.
My God, there were so few.
It was so,
like, I cannot believe how little women were thought of in the 90s.
Yeah, okay, first we should clarify. There are a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s with kick-ass women. Well, I say a lot. There's a, relatively speaking, there was a good number to pick from. But the rule was that it had to be their film.
Yes.
Because there were a lot of films in the 80s and 90s with, well, I say a lot, relatively speaking. There were a fair few films in the 80s and 90s with women in them who at some point or another kick ass, but usually were just there to be objectified.
Yeah.
So the rule was it had to be their movie. They couldn't be a part of a double act. It had to be their vehicle, and there were so few to pick from.
I know.
I think by the end we boiled it down to 6 movies.
Something like that. I mean, when we researched this, and I was looking at them, there are a lot of movies led by females, but a lot of them, for some weird reason, revolved around romance. It wasn't about.
Yeah,
it was more about them getting a man.
Exactly.
Than it was them having a life.
In the 90s, there was a lot of that kind of strong, independent woman, but actually not quite independent because she wants a man kind of stories. There were a lot of those, but we were looking for like.
We didn't want that.
We were looking for like women who engaged in balls to the wall action. Like a John McClane. Or any number of male action heroes. And so there are a fair few. I mean, the one that people kept suggesting, and I think it's because it's the easiest to suggest, because I think most people remember it purely because of just how bad it was, and that was Barbed Wire.
Yes.
So we refused to watch that.
No, we didn't watch that at all. So there's an honorary. This is the honorary mention.
Dishonorable mention.
That's it.
Is Barbed Wire. That was the film we refused to watch.
We could have watched Nikita. We didn't actually get around to doing that.
We have it now though, so we might do a part 2 of this episode. But we watched. So the first film we watched was Tank Girl.
Yes.
Which you'd never seen.
I'd never seen it, but
I don't even think you'd heard of it.
No.
I remember when that movie
I think I've seen the posters at your dad's.
I remember when it came out. My dad was like super excited because he's a big fan of the comics. You know, he was it was about, I think I was about 12 at the time, and Time Out magazine and places like that, all those kind of indie mags in the 90s would just go nuts for it. And I eventually saw it when I was a little bit older. And it was an interesting thing to go back to for me. I don't know what it was like for you.
I thought it was a lot of fun.
You thought it was a lot of fun?
I thought it was a lot of fun for me.
I think personally, I remember Tank Girl the character more fondly than Tank Girl the movie.
Yeah, I agree. I like her. I like Tank Girl. I like the character. I think she's great. You know, I mean, she's funny. She's kick-ass. She kind of rules it. Like she's in control.
Yeah, and even the bits where she is sexualized, it's her in control of the scene. She's never submissive in that scene.
No, not
even that bit where
at the beginning when
she meets her boyfriend, she sees her boyfriend. She's pulled a gun on him, and she's like, "All right, strip." And she's doing the kind of German, the Luftwaffe officer, which is a bit problematic, but, you know, okay, whatever. We'll get past. This is the thing. That film was filled with stuff with us like, okay, I'm just gonna skirt past that for now. We'll come back to that later.
Yeah.
Like child sex trafficking. And,
God, yes, I forgot about that. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute, but. Yeah, she was, for the most part, she's always in control.
Yeah.
You know, even scenes where Malcolm McDowell's character is trying to break her down.
Yeah.
He never manages to break her down.
Not once.
And she is always in control.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even when she's being tortured, even when she's literally a slave at one point, she's always in control. Mm-hmm. She always maintains her control. And it sounds absurd to say it, that's quite unique. It is.
I mean, because if you think of all the situations that she's in after her family home, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, her family.
Her family is just...
They are a family.
Yeah.
It's like
are destroyed,
a commune.
Killed and destroyed. And
that film's not well directed.
Like
that bit where her boyfriend's being shot and he's just doing the death dance in the window, like
flaying arms.
And for some reason later on in the film we need to see a flashback of that as like her motivation. That film is not well made.
No.
It is. It's shot and cut like a student film. Yeah, somebody who'd prefer to be filming music videos.
You'd never get away with it now. I mean, that would be in like one of those really terrible films.
Oh yeah, no.
If it was filmed the way it is now,
that quality would not be.
No way.
So Yeah. Okay. And then we had a couple of questions, didn't we?
Yeah,
when we were
we
watching
did.
these movies. So we're gonna let's bring up these questions.
I'm going to say one thing though. The actress that plays Fangirl, I love her, and
Laurie Petty.
Laurie Petty, I love her, and she plays that kind of.
Let me say that again. Laurie Petty without the big pop.
Like I said, I love her, and that character she plays in Star Trek.
Oh yeah, the one that
Yeah.
Tuvok kind of falls in love with. She falls in love with Tuvok, but she was.
Tuvok is a Vulcan, so he's gonna kind of hold that emotion back, and but you can tell
she
he
does kind
likes
of crack the exterior a little. So we had a couple of questions when we were watching these movies.
Yes.
Does it have a kick-ass 90s soundtrack? How much agency does the heroine have, the female lead have? Does it pass the Bechdel test? And the usual, what do we like, what do we don't like, and is she objectified? And the answer to that last one is yes, but on her own terms.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, like we said earlier, she takes control of all the situations where.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that scene where she's getting dressed and she's wearing all the kinky outfits. And
Yeah, the changing room scene.
She's wearing all the kinky outfits and
But
she's being
at the
sexy.
same time, she's kind of like, that whole scene kind of serves to take the piss out of like beauty standards and things like that, because this computerized woman is giving her very strict rules on what she should wear and how to wear it, and then she comes out wearing like this kind of like
mishmash of.
this kind of
She looks awesome though.
This kind of techno punk version. I mean, that's her. She
is techno punk.
Do you know what I love about that movie as well? Like every time the scene changes, she's in a new outfit.
Yes.
Even if like they've been on the road, right, and they'll leave. She's wearing one outfit, and then it'll cut to them like mid journey, and she's in another outfit. And then they'll cut to her at the destination, and then she's in a whole new outfit.
I mean, she has conviction.
Yes.
She has pure conviction from the moment she's
an anarchist, though.
She's an anarchist, but nope. I'm getting out of here. I'm going to accept myself from the moment you meet her.
From the moment she ends up in prison or that work prison, from the get go, she's like, I'm just gonna.
I'm getting out.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm getting out. Right, you work here, right? Come and fix my tank.
Yeah. And then there was Jet Girl, or just Jet, we call her, which was who was she again? Naomi.
Watts.
Naomi Watts, a really really young Naomi Watts.
God, she was cute.
She was adorable, but she hadn't quite figured out the acting thing yet.
I mean, she's great now.
Yeah, she hadn't. She kind of reminded me of like that sort of after school acting.
But the whole movie's like that. We've already been there.
Oh yeah, there are no good actors in that movie. I mean, there's some great actors in that movie, but everyone's just kind of like, it feels like it's their day off.
Yeah. Let's do this for a blast.
I mean, Malcolm McDowell, he just seemed, he just camped it up. He just chewed the scenery all the way through that movie. He just dialed it all the way up to 11. He was just like, screw it, I'm just going to be as maniacal as possible. There was no nuance to his performance.
You got Ice-T.
Oh my god. It was like, what was it? And then you had cut rate John Travolta?
Yes. Oh god, yeah.
I can't remember the actor's name, but he looks like John Travolta at the top and a Baldwin at the bottom. And he's like this pervy guy who's after Jet. His whole thing is about.
Oh yeah,
and it became like a running gag, so that at the end, when he sees Jet with the big gun or something like that, he can go like, "Fuck me," and she's like, she blows him up. She's like, "I told you, I don't want to." I mean, they literally have him sexually harass her throughout the whole film, just so that she can have her come up and. Yeah, just so they can do that quip.
Yeah.
It seemed a bit. There's a lot of. It's funny. This time around, there was a lot in that movie that made me quite uncomfortable. There's a lot of sexual harassment in that movie. There's that pervy kangaroo.
Yes.
He just keeps trying to feel up Jet every chance he gets, and a couple of times he does like grope her, and it's kind of just like ha ha.
It's all taken very jokingly rather than taken.
He's awkward and he's a dork, and never mind the fact that she just just got completely...
Yeah, but that was it. He was awkward and a dork, and it was like, you, as a viewer, you're supposed to take him as this person.
In the 90s, everyone was just like... In the 90s, we kind of perceived that stuff of like, ha, what a dork.
Yeah, it's like, let him go, he's different.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, back then, like, the victim of the assault didn't even come into the equation as far as how we reacted to it. It was all about... he's funny, look at him, that's, and there's a lot of that. I mean, like I said, there's a whole scene where in that white club, right,
yes,
where they do the
purity,
purity, and it's basically a brothel where everybody wears white and drinks water. And they have this whole kind of child sex thing with Iggy Pop, and then in the next scene it's like, oh, no big deal. And I remember at the time I just kind of looked at you like,
that really happened?
Yeah, and it's weird. When I watched that movie at 15, that sort of stuff just didn't even like...
Way over your head.
No, it didn't even go over my head. It didn't even occur to me that is problematic. That movie, that's weird. It's weird. For as it's kind of oddly feminist as that movie was for its time.
It's still very...
It is problematic as hell.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, there are issues in that film.
Yeah. I mean... You take away all the problematic stuff, you could still write a really good movie around what you had. It's a post-apocalyptic... And
it's a war against the company that's holding all the water.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, nowadays, though, that whole kind of, like, super corporation taking over the world thing, it's a bit of a hackneyed trope.
Yeah, I mean, it's already taking place, so,
Yeah, I know. The thing is, as well, by this point, it's like, all right, change the record. Let's have something else take over the world. How about
except for a Blu-ray laser.
How about a totalitarian religion? That's new. We haven't done that in a while. Let's do that now.
The one thing it did, on a positive note, if we were just going by the Bechdel test, it passed it with flying colours.
I think it's the only film on this list that actually does pass the Bechdel test.
Yeah, completely.
And most people know what the Bechdel test is, but for those who don't, the Bechdel test is a very simple test that films should pass. It's a very easy test to pass, but most films fail it. The Bechdel test is, does the film have two named female characters? That's the key. They have to be named, who have a conversation between the two of them about anything other than the man of the story, or just men, their relationship with men, or anything like that. It's like, and it's astonishing how many films fail that test.
I mean, considering that we're looking at female-led movies in this podcast, and only 1 out of the 3 that we watched passed the test. That's incredible.
It is incredible. It is incredible. Because the film has Tank and Jet.
Yep. And they're mainly together, those two.
Yeah, and they're friends.
Yeah.
So they talk about everything. The subject of dudes does come up from time to time. Very barely. But for the rest of the time, they're just talking about whatever the story's about. And that's it, And because the story's not about men... and their hearts and whatever, they get a pass. They pass the Bechdel test. It's incredible. It's incredible. One of the things as well that's quite weird is that there are these great, what would be these really cool action sequences or whatever, but they didn't have the budget for them, so they replaced them for like animation and frames from the comic with voiceover and voice acting and stuff like that. And I remember when I first saw this, I was like, oh, that's cool and unique. And watching it now and knowing that is purely due to budget cuts, it's a little like, ouch. Then again, judging by the way the rest of the film was made, I don't think those scenes would have come out that well anyway. Because they're when they at the end where they release the water, because that's the thing, water's a commodity now. That's it. It's water and power is the big. They're the authority of the world now. But yeah, it's that's
the reason why they were raided in the first place.
And also all the wires.
Oh God,
in all the action sequences, like how many times we could see the wire harnesses. It is such a badly made movie.
I know it was the 90s, but it wasn't that I mean, CG had come into play, and you could hide wires back then.
Do you know, it's interesting as well.
Because there were good movies from the 90s that hid wires.
Yeah.
So there was no excuse.
I know. And I think a lot of it came down to like budget cuts and things.
Yeah.
But one of the things I think is quite interesting is that it feels very much like a comic book adaptation made at a time where we weren't used to comic book adaptations, because from the very beginning, it's very forward. It's very open about the fact that this is a comic book adaptation, and it constantly references the comics. At the beginning, it has the whole intro is done. It's pages from the comics, and like I said, there's certain sequences where they insert bits from the comics, and so it's almost like the film was like, please don't hate us completely because we are a comic book adaptation. It's like it's very much of that era of studios not really taking the comic book genre
too seriously.
Yeah. So it's almost like that whole thing people do with like certain actors and actresses. Like they'll really enjoy a movie, but before they can actually say they really enjoyed the movie, they've got to get a few licks in on that actor that's in the film, like Megan Fox or God, there are so many. Kristen Stewart, Will Ferrell's become one of those.
I think so. Yeah.
But when you enjoy a film by that particular actor, you got to get a few licks in, and it felt like the studio was doing that. It's like, we'll make this movie, but we're not taking it completely serious because it's a comic, and people don't like, and comics are for nerds,
Yeah, they're not really taken they're not supposed to be taken seriously, blah blah blah. But look at us now, and comic book adaptations. How far have we come?
So how much? So it's her story, it's her adventure, and everything that happens is her choice and her decision. So, we can say that she has a fair bit
of agency. Yes. Yeah. Indeed.
Everything that unfolds based on her decision.
Her decision to go, to break out of the
prison.
Her
decision to steal the tank. Her decision to go rescue her little girl.
All of that.
Yeah.
It's all her decision.
Even the plans. Do you remember there's a scene where they need pictures of the weapons?
Yes.
They're spying on the guy.
And they didn't
didn't have a plan.
I mean, this is where Ice-T comes in, and he goes, she needs to prove it. It's like she had to prove herself. This is very much what a woman has to. We have to prove ourselves to be women.
I didn't read that as a quintessentially sort of woman has to prove. For me, that was more a mixture of woman and outsider, because this is a closed-knit group of mutant
but do you know how many
people.
times as a woman you have to prove yourself? And I guess that I took that from that.
I'm looking at it as a man.
Yeah.
And,
you and I go for this. Say you and I have the same qualifications, but I have to prove myself more.
Yeah, you have to prove.
For me, I took
you
that
actually earn those qualifications. Yes. I just have to show up with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's that kind of situation.
I didn't see. The thing is, the whole proving, like I said, the whole proving themselves thing. I just took that as an outsider thing. But for you, you obviously, it's something you recognise on a more personal level. But if you remember at that point,
for me, it's on two different levels because ethnicity as well as as gender.
But if you remember at that point as well, they had no way of getting pictures of these weapons, and she comes up with an idea.
Such a great idea.
Crazy ass idea of shooting a calendar, of getting the dock workers to take part in a calendar shoot.
Do you know what that reminds me of?
Yes. And Jet gets into it. She's like, oh yeah, show me the film.
Do you know what that reminded me of? The episode of Burn Notice. Notice.
Oh yeah, because Fiona does that with the builders as well. She needs pictures of. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I think I'm looking at my January.
With the shimmy.
Yeah, January.
Brilliant.
Except Fiona did it with a little bit more
class.
A little bit more gusto.
Yes, that's true.
Took Jet a little while to get into it. Other than, blatant sexual harassment, child sex trafficking,
I think
kangaroos. What else did we like about it?
Look, it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's not a movie that's great. It was just fun to watch at the time.
I think it's a guilty pleasure movie.
It's a guilty pleasure movie, and I think the only reason why it's a guilty pleasure movie because of the character herself. She's funny. She is great. She's endearing. Just lovable. I mean, you fight for her. You really fight for her.
She's kind of a lovable goof, isn't she? Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. And the thing is, I would recommend it to people, but with a caveat.
Yes.
Yeah, I would.
I just thought.
Yeah, I would be like, look, it's problematic as hell, but it's cheesy, and it's got terrible special effects, and the villain is cartoonishly fiendish, but it's still a fun ride.
Yeah, it's also directed by a woman, Rachel Talladay.
Yeah, and I think that kind of says a lot about how much studio interference there was and things like that. I think, weirdly, if a man made exactly the same movie that she actually made rather than the one that came out, he wouldn't have had such a hard time getting the film he wanted.
Yeah,
out.
I mean, I totally agree with that, especially back then.
Yeah, especially back then.
I mean, I know it for me, because it's very odd to look back at films from the 90s, because the 90s for me is like your teenage years and things like that, so it's all
Wayne's
like,
World was directed by a woman, so
yeah, I love Wayne's World.
And she got exactly the film she wanted out.
I loved Wayne's World.
But the thing is, back then, Mike Myers, the star of the film, had her back. He was in her corner, so anytime they had any issues, he was producer and he was star and he was writer, and he could literally just say, "I'll walk."
Yeah, I mean that's quite quite a big thing for something from the 90s.
Yeah.
For you to say, I didn't know this.
Yeah, but that's it though, because she actually lost, there were people acting in this film that she was friends with beforehand that this film kind of ruined her relationship with them because they, there was a lot of, because of the studio interference and people wanting to make a particular thing and other people wanting to make another thing. A lot of there are people that haven't spoken to her since that movie came out. So, but she's, it sucks because you could see that there was like a kind of, there was a vision there, but
you can see the vision.
It didn't get to come out. Yeah. I feel like if she'd been able to make the movie she wanted to make, that even what we saw would have looked a lot better.
And there's a lot of movies even now to this day. I mean, if you look at Fan Four Stick, you can see where that movie was going.
Was studio interference as well. I didn't like what he was doing with the characters from the start, but I think it would have been quite interesting.
The first 20 minutes are great.
Well, I didn't like his interpretation of the characters, but I feel like even that interpretation of the characters could have made quite a cool film without the studio interference. But anyway, so yeah, that's Tank Girl. What do you think it would look like now if we made it now? They want to make Jamie Howlett, the guy who co-created the Gorillas. He created Tank Girl. He, with the money he got from working on Gorillas, he was able to buy back the rights.
Good.
At least I heard. This was like 10 years ago, and he's been trying to get a film made again since. So, I'd be interested to see.
I'd like to see where
interpretation, especially considering what we're able to do cinematically now. I mean, if you look at things like Fury Road.
Yes.
I mean, it's very much set in that kind of
post-apocalyptic
that kind of environment,
world. Yeah.
So
I think if you're going to make it, yeah, definitely. I think I would love to see a different interpretation of it. I'd like to keep her personality the same. I'd love to read the comics. I'd like to see what the comics are like and see what.
The comics are a lot of fun. They're very funny. They're very kind of like that sort of hyper-violent, cartoony hyper-violence, and they're a little bit raunchy.
Yeah.
Because of her relationship with
I know who you mean.
The dim-witted kangaroo.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like phlegm or snot or something. Booger.
There you go.
That was close.
You were close.
Booger and the pervy kangaroo is Donna.
Of course.
Bloody Donna.
What, as in Donna, as in kebab, or Donna as in Donna?
Donner.
Yeah, as in kebab.
Yeah, I think we've talked as much as we can about Tank Girl, yeah?
Yeah.
Nothing else to say?
Not right now.
All right, cool. Oh, before we move on.
Yeah.
Does it have a kick-ass 90s soundtrack?
Yes.
I think it's the only one that has a kick-ass 90s
Yes.
soundtrack. Is it kick-ass or kick-ass?
Kick-ass.
Kick-ass. I mean, I don't want to be too English about this. Kick-ass.
It's kick-ass.
Does it have a kick-ass 90s soundtrack?
Yes.
Yes, it does, and it's probably the only one out of all
Oh,
three
definitely.
of them. One of them has a kick-ass soundtrack, but it's not a kick-ass 90s
No,
soundtrack.
it's actually predominantly 60s.
Yeah, I mean, Tank Girl is very much an MTV movie.
Oh, yeah,
or
definitely.
90s MTV.
Yeah.
Well, MTV as it was back then. Now, MTV is mostly just a lifestyle channel. But yeah, it's all kind of like, it's all sort of like punk and indie, well, not indie, grunge and stuff like that. And then you've also
great
got
music in that.
yeah, and then there's even a musical sequence.
Yes, there is.
With let's do it, let's fall in love.
Yeah.
They had to fight really hard to keep that scene in.
Really?
Yeah, the test audience didn't get it. The studio didn't get it. They had to fight really hard. The thing is, what is the point of test audiences? Because they always get test audiences that don't understand the film.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially when it's an adaptation of something. They just, it's like they pick any bozo off of the street. Hey, we've done an adaptation of this comic book property. Ever heard of it? Nope. Perfect.
I would love to be somebody in a test audience. I would love to.
I've been in a test audience.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
For the
Go on. Okay.
for the Flintstones prequel Viva Rock Vegas.
Oh no! Oh god! Hey, look, listen, guys. Sorry about this. My laugh. I sound like Muttley right now, so you excuse me.
I don't know why, but my laugh has kind of evolved into a kind of stoned Brad Pitt laugh.
What was that like then?
Yeah,
I can't imagine it was good.
it's basically the same movie. It's basically the same movie. Yes, I've seen it more than once.
Oh god.
I saw it at the test screening, but because I was at the test screening, I also got a pass for the press screening.
Oh, nice.
And I took my little brother and sister to see it at the press screening. And not much had changed.
No.
Like, the audience were just like, yeah, it's fine. There's not really much you can do. I mean, all you're going to be doing is polishing a turd. So the next movie on our journey, our cinematic journey, was Sam Raimi's The Quick and the Dead. I love westerns. My dad raised me on and it's a really, as far as westerns go, it's actually a pretty good movie. As far as female-led action heroes go, it's not great.
Not at all. Do you know what? For me, it starts off as one thing and does something completely different.
Let's go through the checklist. First of all, did it have a kick-ass 90s soundtrack?
No, it's pure Western music.
And the score was actually pretty good.
Yeah, the score's great.
The score's pretty good.
Yeah.
Does she have much agency?
No.
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 Does it pass the Bechdel test?
Definitely not. She does. I don't think she even speaks to a single female character.
She does, the little girl. But
yeah, but that doesn't count.
It's a little girl.
It's a little girl.
Yeah. Is she objectified?
Yes, at every moment. Yeah.
From start to finish. Okay.
From the moment she enters the desert.
We've got that out of the way. The thing is, right, this film starts off really strong.
Yeah, the beginning of this movie is amazing. She is kick-ass. You walk in and she's got this demeanour about her.
It starts with that scene with her just... There's that dude, he's digging for treasure or whatever, right? And then he sees this figure riding over the horizon. And
you don't actually know that it's male or female. You just
don't
see
know
a
who
figure.
the character is. And then he shoots them. He's like a really good shot, and he shoots them. And when he runs over, it's Sharon Stone.
Yeah. I mean, I love Sharon Stone.
I love Sharon Stone as well.
Beautiful woman.
She's kind of like a female-led sort of man with no name sort of storyline.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have a name. She's just known as the lady. And for the first act, she is kind of like that sort of character.
Yeah.
Stoic, kind of strong character.
And she knows what she wants and why she's there.
And she really gives off this sort of vibe of do not mess with her.
Yeah.
You know, because every time someone does mess with her, that bit with is it Pat Hingle, Commissioner Gordon in all the Tim Burton Batmans, right? He's on the stool, stacking the shelves.
Yes.
And what does she do? He sees it. Yeah, he says like whores are next door.
Yeah.
So
she goes, excuse me?
Yeah, say that again.
Yeah.
Whores are next door. So she kicks him off the stool, catches the bottle in his hand, and pours herself a drink and sits down, and right there he's like, okay.
Yeah, he knows exactly
he shows,
what she's about.
Exactly, but then the moment Gene Hackman turns up, she turns into this quivering wreck.
I know, and it completely diminishes the story and diminishes her role as the female protagonist.
Yeah, as this kick-ass
because it
woman.
no longer revolves around her.
Yeah, because that's it. In that scene, Gene Hackman and Russell Crowe, a really young Russell Crowe, as a preacher who has renounced violence. He used to be part of Gene Hackman's crew, and he has renounced violence. And the moment they turn up in the story, she just kind of becomes the B-plot.
Yeah. It's not about her anymore. Yeah. It's about those two, about their drama.
And yeah, exactly. And there was even we said it at the time, like there was a point about halfway through the movie where it was like, where it felt like she got sent out the room. It was like, okay, little lady, it's time for the men to talk. You go off and do your sewing or something, you know? And,
that's exactly how
they kind of took over the story for a bit.
And then remembered that she's supposed to be in it and brought it back.
Exactly. And what's weird is she turns up at this town with a mission. Yes. And then when she's faced with her mission, suddenly...
She can't face it.
That becomes her arc. It's like her having to face this mission, you know? It's like that becomes her journey.
Because when you first meet her, you can see how driven she is by this vengeance.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to know, it's vengeance. She's basically going after Gene Hackman for killing her father.
For killing Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah. Yes.
Or in this case, Marshal Dan.
Then she sees him and it's like, that's
and
it.
Suddenly suddenly she needs convincing.
But look, in terms of being a survivor of trauma, I can understand I can understand her mentality.
Suddenly being faced with your abuser.
Yeah, I can understand that. But that's not where the film was going.
Yeah, it didn't even tackle it on those terms.
Not at all.
It was very kind of black and white. She's scared of him.
Yeah,
she's scared of him, and she doesn't want to actually. It's almost like she went to this town with vengeance on her mind.
Yeah.
Turned up at the town and was growly and stuff for a bit. And then Gene Hackman turned up and she completely forgot why she was there.
Yeah.
And it's only when that old dude, who is basically the old dude in every movie. I don't know who he is. I don't know what I've seen him in. But all I know is he's always the old dude in stuff, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he's the one that saved her.
Yeah, and he gives her father's sheriff's badge. And suddenly she's like, oh yeah, I need to kill Gene Hackman. I mean, she has a couple of opportunities to kill him.
Yeah.
And she does meet up with him, but she can never pull the trigger.
No.
And there is no actual reason within the story for why she cannot pull the trigger other than the fact that she's scared.
Because the psychological effects of being in that situation isn't faced. They don't show any of it.
I mean, they toy with the idea of it being because she's never taken a life before.
Yeah.
But when it comes to taking somebody's life at other points in the movie, she doesn't really hesitate. I mean, she feels it. There's that bit where she has to kill the guy in one of the... In
her very first duel.
No, in her first duel, remember, that was before Gene Hackman's character decrees that it's now...
death.
It's now last man standing, basically. Before they just had to kind of get shot enough to say, like, I quit. The character is confused and confusing.
But then you got babyface Leo.
Oh,
how cute was he?
I remember this was about the time when all my sister and all her friends were like, oh, Leo. And that was why I didn't like the film back then.
Now you don't like it on many other different...
It's funny how times change, because at the time it was like, oh, Leo. 10 years later, it's all like, oh, Russell Crowe. Until it turned out he was like a kind of a violent bastard.
Yes.
But what did I tell you? Lots of Dutch tilts and snap zooms.
Yes. What was it? Clocks, eyes and guns.
There's even that one bit where it's like they're waiting for the clock to strike, so it's like his eyes, clock, gun, his eyes, clock, and it just keeps speeding up until eventually it's like dang.
You have to give Sam Raimi some kudos for the number of variations of that.
Yes.
Because of the number of times he does it in the movie.
Yes.
The different variations of that is incredible.
It never feels like the same shot.
No.
I wonder if he would spend his mornings like, okay, He's got got a catalogue of shots and angles. He's like, right, I've done that one. I've done that one. I've done that one. But the thing is, one of the things I love about Sam Raimi movies as a whole is he's never afraid to be like over dramatic or melodramatic or cartoonish even. Like, how many cartoony shots are in Sam Raimi movies? Like, even in this one, there was like those ones where it, there are he likes to do shots where something's traveling through the air and he follows it. With the camera, like it's the point of view of whatever's going through, like bullets or knives or something like that. Though, just thinking about, there is one shot that I absolutely love in that film, and it's somewhere near the beginning. You remember there's that guy who just broke out of prison, and he's a filthy bastard. He's the one who bullies the blind kid, right? So there's a bit at the beginning where it's just after he tips the blind kid's stuff over. Right? And from there, it's one shot, and you see the camera just kind of dollies from right to left. Okay, so it goes from him tipping over the blind kid's stuff, and then he walks into the saloon, and then he disappears for a few seconds, and then suddenly a guy comes. I think he either gets thrown out or he comes running out, right? And then it follows him as he turns the corner, and he runs up the road, and it just stays where it is. And then the guy comes out, and then he just stands there and then shoots him, and then it follows him back into the saloon. I just love single takes. No matter, at that point, I was thinking, like, no matter how bad this movie is, it's at least I've got that.
You've got that. You've got something to take away from that, right?
This is a really good moment, because there's no music, there's no dialogue, there's nothing. It's just the camera. I don't know. I just thought it was a really cool moment. But the thing is, as melodramatic as a lot of the shots are, for me, the shots that really stuck to me, that stick out in my mind are those ones, those moments of like quiet subtlety, rather than like, Dutch tilt, snap, zoom, to the eyes, to the gun, to the clock. Because there are so many of those that I can't recall a single one.
It's true. It's true. I just remember them. Like you said, there were so many of them.
I remember it following a bullet through a guy's head.
Yes.
I think it was...
it was Gene Hackman that actually made the shot.
Yeah, Gene Hackman shot, and it was who was he shooting? Lance Henriksen.
Because he's one of the
such a sleazy character. He's the showboat, and he's more a myth than a man because he takes credit for other people's stuff.
That's it. You did it, did you? You shot all those people.
Well, you remember there's that bit where he shoots the card, and he gets the little girl to hold the card up.
Yeah.
And he shoots it, and then Gene Hackman took mentions about how he did that in another town and shot a little girl's finger off.
Yeah.
And then he shoots his finger off, and he basically the thing is, like, that scene is just cruel. Like, you see Gene Hackman's cruelty. What is the character's name? It's going to bug me now.
But Gene Hackman's character was cruel. In that whole thing, I mean...
Herod.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, that's where you really see his cruelty. Because first he picks him apart, piece by piece. And then shoots him in the head.
Yeah.
He picks him apart, humiliates him, and then shoots him in the head. But the thing is, as well, Gene Hackman wins every round of that tournament.
Yeah.
In such a way that everyone around him is like, he actually has to tell people to applaud. With every other round, they all like they cheer at the end no matter what. But with Gene Hackman, he'd always win in such a way that everyone around him is like, whoa.
Yeah. It's true.
But I think as well that movie pushes a little too hard to make us hate Gene Hackman. Like, we hated him from his first scene because he's humiliating and torturing Russell Crowe. He's going to hang him, but he's shooting the legs off of the stool. Slow, which turns out is exactly what he did to the lady's
father. Yeah.
Until he gave her the gun and told her to shoot him free, and that's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in retrospect, talking about it now, being that the first time she sees Gene Hackman's character, he's doing exactly what he did to her father to another person. Only this time she shoots the rope.
Not the other person.
Yeah. But the thing is, the fact that she shot the rope. The fact that she shot the rope.
Yeah.
That changes history. It played. It wasn't history repeating itself.
No.
So surely that should have been enough to kind of give her a little bit
more confidence to actually deal with her vengeance.
Yeah,
to
even
actually
if there
deal
was
with
some
Gene Hackman.
trepidation,
Yes,
that would have given her just a spoonful
I can do
of
it,
confidence.
because that's, you know what, when it comes to
Maybe not I can do it, but maybe a sort of maybe
I can do it.
this.
Yes, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
So I didn't miss this time. I got it
And
right.
the thing is, it only works in retrospect on those levels, because we find out what happened to her father and what she did to her father at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So the thing is that scene doesn't have much context. It's a weird thing. You can't do that sort of trauma and repetition when you don't meaning the same thing to the audience, if the audience doesn't know that this is the repetition of a trauma.
Yeah.
So at that point, her sudden fear made no sense. Maybe that movie isn't as good as
It's not.
No, it's
really
not a good film.
It's not a good movie.
We came out of that movie feeling a bit kind of like, wow. Like it promises way more than it delivers, and it focuses way too much on the male characters.
Yes.
Like I said, as soon as Gene Hackman and Russell Crowe turn up, her story becomes the B story.
It's not about her anymore, and which is so disappointing, because I really wanted to. I mean, I know she wins in the end and everything else, but it's so kind of like, I can't remember. Leo's character has got gunpowder under it. I know what to do. We're gonna blow up the town.
Yeah,
you know, it's that kind of. It's that. What was the movie that came into my head? Three Amigos.
The Three Amigos. See, that's the thing. That movie should not be making you think of The Three Amigos. But what it was aiming for, that's the last movie you should be thinking of. You should be thinking about, like, The Man with No Name or
I didn't. I thought of The Three Amigos.
I think this movie, the problem with this movie is it suffers from... It's a story about... It's a woman's story.
Yes.
Written by a man and directed by a different man.
Yeah.
There were no... I mean, Sharon Stone was one of the producers, but she was a woman in a room full of men in the 90s. So, you know, I imagine there was a part of her was like, I don't want this shit. This is not why I'm producing this movie. I'm not producing this movie to become the B story in my own film. I'm not producing this movie to have a 14-year-old girl assaulted by a creepy old
what is it with the 90s and
child exploitation? Yeah, absolutely. What is it? Remember, up until that point, she refused to kill anyone until that happened, and then that's where she kills someone.
And then, I mean, her killing somebody just had a massive effect on her.
Yeah. I mean, she kills in a blind fury, and then she cries about it. You don't see Tank Girl crying about it.
Which goes against her character that you see at the beginning.
Yeah.
Completely goes against her
character.
Well,
I mean, I don't think it goes against character when, you know, you could have a tough character, but they've never taken a life.
Yeah, but this is a Western. If you take it in the context of the genre.
Yeah, but I think humanity exceeds genre.
Yeah, yes. I mean, yes, but we're talking about movies. So
yeah, but I do think humanity it does kind of it
exceeds that.
Yeah, it's not confined by genre.
No,
because we're still talking about people. Yeah, they are characters within a genre, but ultimately they are still people. And I imagine during the Wild West there were still people who never took a life, and then when that moment came, it affected them.
No, of course. Should we go against that dead horse?
Should we? Yeah, I think what you mean to say is we've beaten that dead horse. There are actually a couple of dead horses in that movie as well, aren't there?
There are.
And
horses shall be killed.
And we've beaten them enough as it is. I think in this day and age, if a movie was made like that, I think it would be made... I think the world needs a kick-ass Western female, you know, gunslinger, hero, whatever. You know, I think we
haven't had one of those for a while.
I mean, for God's sake, how many remakes of like the classics do we need? You know, we've had how many versions of 3:10 to Yuma and Magnificent Seven.
Yes.
You know, have we watched that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I love the original.
Yes.
But I won't go into that right now. It's all about the Steve McQueen. But anyways, Well, let's move on from that and talk about the one we really love.
When we've watched this movie so many times, this is our...
This is our alternative Christmas movie. Some people have Die Hard, and we love Die Hard.
Yeah, we watched that too.
This is our Christmas action movie, and it is The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yay!
All right, so let's just go through the checklist first of all. Does it have a Kick-Ass 90s soundtrack? No, but it does have a Kick-Ass soundtrack. It's soul and it's Motown.
Yeah.
And it's just... and you know, it's a lot of that kind of like, that sort of swing 50s Christmas music as well. Because it's a Shane Black movie, so it's set at Christmas. How much agency does she have? Not much at the beginning, but then a lot at the end. But that is because of her character.
Yeah, she changes.
Yeah. Does it pass the Bechdel test? No. Unfortunately, not.
I don't think. She doesn't talk to a single woman except for her daughter.
Yeah, she has a daughter, but I'm not sure if little girls are included in the Bechdel test. I'm going to say no, so it doesn't. And is she objectified? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, quite a lot. Actually,
but then she takes control of that as well.
But and it's a Shane Black movie, so
yes.
You know.
When you look at that,
should we just explain the story quickly?
Yeah, go on,
because I love this movie, and okay, so Samantha Cain.
Yes,
Sam Cain. Because amnesiac. Okay, so you have Sam Cain. She opens with a monologue how she's 8 years old. You know, she's a full-grown, and she was born as a full-grown woman, 2 months pregnant, because she has no memory of who she is. Now she's like this suburban mom in PTA, and she's a very nice lady, and until some dude turns up and tries to kill her, and she hooks up with Samuel L. Jackson, a private detective she hired to try and figure out who she is. They go on a road trip, and during that she starts to figure out her memories come back, and she's basically a CIA trained assassin named Charlie Baltimore.
She is kick-ass.
She is awesome.
She is brilliant. I love her. I love this film.
Here, check these out.
But that's it. Is she objectified? Sure, but she's taking control.
Yeah, she objectifies herself. Yeah. So, first of all, this movie's a hell of a lot of fun.
Oh, so much fun. I mean, she's great. I mean, you know, it's when she changes.
It's dumb in places. God, it's super dumb in places. This movie, I don't know if you know this, but this movie is the most expensive script ever bought. It sold for $4 million just as a script.
Yeah.
It sold as $4 million, and this is Renny Harlin. This is when Renny Harlin and Geena Davis were married, and this was part of their kind of... They wanted to show audiences and Hollywood and the industry that female-led action movies could work. They could work. Unfortunately, the film they did before this, Cutthroat Island, was kind of a flop. I personally really enjoy that movie. I love that film.
I've seen it.
But because of the bad press from Cutthroat Island, Long Kiss Goodnight didn't do so great either, and that's why it took a very long time for Hollywood to kind of take female action movies seriously.
It's very much a cult movie, isn't it? Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah, I mean, look at since this kind of renaissance of female-led action movies, between this period and the Long Kiss Goodnight, look at the kind of female-led action movies we've had. We've had like Elektra, we've had Barbed Wire, I think Barbed Wire was before this. Either way, we've had Elektra, Catwoman. Yeah, we've had things like Salt and things like that. But a lot of the female-led action movies we've had since then, like Salt, for example, were films that were written for men. Like Salt was written for Tom Cruise,
and
he wasn't interested. So, and Angelina Jolie
took over.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as great as that movie is, it sort of hurt the cause almost. Yeah, it's an amazing film, and if people had just kind of recognized it on its own merits, then I think this. I think I think even in a small way, the cinematic landscape would have been different. Because think about it. If 24 years ago we had taken action, like these kind of action movies, seriously, and we'd had and more writers and more studios invested in this sort of sub genre almost, then when it came to characters like Rey in Star Wars, we wouldn't have sections of the internet insisting that it's some SJW
that I have to
They'd be
agree with.
more accustomed to this idea of, you know, the women
Female
can,
being
women can
kick-ass
be exactly, women can be as kick-ass as, you know, not even that women can be, it's being kick-ass is not gender specific.
No, not at all. I mean, the action sequences in this movie are incredible.
Oh, hell yeah.
Come on.
That bit where they jump out the window and shooting the ice.
Yes.
I mean, let's set aside the magic hand grenade that can throw a wall of fire down a hallway. Let's forget about that. I love when, like, muscle memory kicks in with her. Like that bit where the dude turns up at her house. Because that's it as well. She has a car accident. And certain things start surfacing. Like there's a bit with the knife.
Love that.
Chefs do that. And that becomes her thing. Chefs do that. You know, when she snaps the guy's neck. Chefs do that. But that bit where the dude turns up at her house and, you know, everything she does at that moment is like...
Throws her daughter out the window.
Pure instinct and pure muscle memory, and it is amazing. Yeah, throws the daughter through the hole in the wall into the treehouse. I wonder if any part of her was unable to remember whether or not the treehouse was situated exactly there. Like, she threw her through the hole. I'm like, I think the treehouse is there.
You would hope not.
Can you imagine if the entrance to the treehouse was on the other side? It just slams against the side of the tree.
That's just cruel, come on.
You just see her just like kind of like sort of slapping down the side of the tree like those things just throw against the wall and they just go which is doubly worse considering she'd literally just fractured her wrist the day before.
Get up. Get up.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. That's like one of the scariest parental moments I've ever seen in a movie. But in the end, it's the very thing that saves her life. Like, the daughter falls and there's a crack. And because she's trying to teach her daughter how to ice skate. And there's a crack. And she's like, get up, life is pain. You know, she just becomes very cold all of a sudden.
I mean, there's a payoff for everything.
Yeah, that's the thing.
In that movie. Every single thing in that movie is linked.
As shitty as an individual as Shane Black is.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go into that.
No.
But if you don't know what I'm referring to, then just look up the controversy around Predators and a particular person he cast in it. But as shitty as an individual as he is, he's a fantastic writer. You know, he knows structure. He knows he uses Chekhov's gun just in every scene, and it always pays off. There's this moment where she just turns cold on her daughter. Her daughter hurts herself quite bad, and she just goes
cold. It's like a switch. It's like
something
switches
just, and afterwards she says, I don't even remember what I said to her. You know, and she's like, get up, life is pain. She just ignores her daughter.
Funny though,
and then later
Sam doesn't remember, but Charlie does.
Yeah, and then later on, when she's laying on the road dying, and the bomb's about to go off, her daughter says the same thing to her: life is pain, get up, you know, you can't die. She takes on that sort of, she turns it on her mother, and it's and those are the words that gets her mum up off the road, and you know, it basically brings her back to life. You know, and yeah, it's a weird scene. I remember that scene always kind of puts a chill down my spine.
I completely agree with you.
Because that's the thing as well, like, Sam Cain and Charlie Baltimore
are very different.
Yeah, and it's
complete opposites, to be honest. One's quiet and suburban.
She's not quiet, she's bubbly.
Bubbly, yeah, that's the word. She's bubbly, and she's all about the neighbours and the love.
But have you noticed, neither of them take shit.
No.
They just don't take shit in different ways. Yeah, she's like, there's that bit where she's driving the guy home, and he's being inappropriate.
Yeah.
You know, and she's kind of she doesn't take it. But she does it in a very kind of like takes the piss out of him sort of way. She
puts him in his place, basically.
Yeah, but she does it in a very kind of friendly, taking a piss kind of way. And then with everybody else, as Charlie Baltimore, it's very much sort of like, I will rip out your Adam's apple if you say that again.
Charlie doesn't want the daughter. Do you remember there's that whole maternal thing about Sam being the mothering type, where Charlie really is not that mothering type. She rejects motherhood. She does. That is not. She even says it. That's the life she chose. It's not the life I want.
Yeah, because when Sam Jackson reminds her of her daughter.
Yeah.
Because she tries to seduce him, and he basically points out that this isn't a seduction. This is you trying to forget who you were. It's you trying to forget Sam and her daughter and things like that. And that's why there's that one scene that just blew my mind this time around, because it's the first time I really noticed what was happening in that scene. It's the scene where Charlie goes back to Sam's house and for the key change. And she completely
ransacks the bedroom.
And she knows it's in the daughter's room.
Yeah.
And she's tearing the daughter's room apart. And she's now, she's completely changed her look. She's got the bleached blonde hair and the heavy eyeliner, and she's got a rifle on her shoulder and everything like that. And
she
her
looks
daughter,
awesome, by the way.
Yeah, and her daughter is outside
doing the Christmas
outside the church across the street. And the only way she can see her daughter properly is through the scope of a rifle. Yeah, and it's this.
It's like
for me, it was
juxtaposition.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the first time I've seen this movie.
Umpteen times. We've seen it
I've
so
seen
many
it
times.
a gajillion times, and this was the first time I ever noticed what was happening in that scene. She's standing there in this kind of this new version of herself in her home, in the bedroom of the child she rejected. No, well, the child Charlie has rejected. The child she rejected, but yearning to be close to her. And the only way she can do that is by looking at her through the scope of a rifle, and it fucking blew my mind.
An incredible scene. I have to.
I mean, it hits emotionally anyway, without all of that subtext. But at that moment, I was like, whoa. And that's what I love about Shane Black's writing, is that he works on that level. There is a lot of stuff a lot of his stuff you can go back and look at in those terms. But yeah, it's I'm just me doing my kind of my film student. That's symbolism, darling. Symbolism.
There's that scene in the car when they're driving and Samuel Jackson
he sees the jogger and his cat calling, and she calls him out on his cat calling.
Yes, fucking yes. No woman fucking responds to cat calling.
She calls him out on it, and she's like, and even she's like, "What do you get out of this?" I mean, seriously.
It's a guy thing. Tell me, is it a guy thing?
No, it's not a guy thing.
Tell me.
At no point in my life have I felt like I need to shout out at a person across the room.
Oi.
Exactly. I've never felt the need to do that. I've had friends, in the past where, in varying degrees. Some of them will hang out the window of a moving car just to make their presence known. And others would literally just be like, "All right, darling," just as someone walked by them closely. And, everything in between. But I've never subscribed to it, and I've never understood it. Because
and has it ever worked for your friends? Did it ever work for your friends?
For one.
Of course, there has to be one.
But
Go on.
But he's that kind of guy, He's the kind of guy that when he's at a club or at a party, most of the women in the room want to be near him.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But that doesn't excuse his behaviour.
No, not at all.
But that's the only instance that's ever actually worked. But the rest of the time,
it's terrible.
I kid you not. I have seen women visibly shudder in response to some of these guys, like, no, like, all right, treacle. Like,
treacle.
I knew a guy.
What the fuck is treacle? I don't know what treacle is.
When I was about 17, 18, I knew a guy, and I won't say his name. I was about to, but I won't. But he genuinely believed the click and finger guns would work.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Like what? Who ever told you that was a...
I wouldn't put my arm up and go, hey.
But this is it. Whenever I say... But this is it. In the 90s, there was a lot of that it's a guy thing stuff. It was basically...
That's just you guys excusing yourselves back then. Even girls in the 90s hated it. We hated it.
Well, I think a lot of that perception from a lot of guys comes from sort of coming from a background with proximity to women. Like, I was raised in a house full of women. You know, I have two sisters. I was raised by my mum and my aunt and my grandmother. You know, when I was growing up in South Africa, that was, you know, that was my network. You know, it was all women, and the men were sort of like, they were sort of they were side characters in my life. You know, it was mostly women. So I grew up with, you know, hearing these complaints, hearing these conversations, hearing these points of view. So I've never really, it's never really been a mystery to me that what, you know, I may not necessarily know what women want, but I have a pretty good idea of what women don't want.
Yeah, catcalling is definitely one of them.
Yeah. Anyways, we went on. We should actually call this marital issues and tangents.
We do go off on one sometimes, don't we?
So there's something that's always stuck out to me in that film, right? Is at the beginning. It's quite near the beginning, and it's how the hell does that dude in prison make out Charlie Baltimore's face on the
TV with the grades on it?
Okay, first of all, it's
like 14-inch.
It's a standard definition tube television in the 90s on a news channel, cable network, with a grate in front of it. And Charlie Baltimore, who used to have slick black short blonde hair, now has flowing red hair. How the hell did he recognize her?
I have no idea.
Because it wasn't like they did a close-up of her.
No.
It's her on a Christmas parade.
Yeah.
It's her on a sled in a Christmas parade. How the hell did he recognize her?
No idea.
It's not like they were like, so, Sam Kane, how did it feel being the belle of the Christmas ball?
Like, yeah, they didn't interview her.
Oh, well, let me tell you, it was great. And that's when he recognizes her. It's like, that's always been, like, even in 1996, when I watched that movie, I was like, how did he recognize her? And they never really show how he broke out of prison either.
No.
But then, you know, it's not important to the story.
No, she is. She's just badass. I love her.
Yeah.
I mean,
I loved,
I've forgotten her name.
Geena Davis.
Geena Davis.
Yeah. And Sam Jackson. This was kind of one of the movies, like, this was post Pulp Fiction, but he was still sort of like that dude from Pulp Fiction. But it even though this movie was a failure, it was kind of the film that sort of got people to recognize, at least in the industry, got people to recognize him. I mean, that's when the sort of the Sam Jackson character mold was created.
Yeah.
And they have such great chemistry as well.
Yeah, they do. But I think Sam Jackson has a great chemistry with a lot of people.
That's very true.
Look at him and
Brie Larson.
Brie Larson, yeah. I mean, and they're doing
look at him with
TV
Ryan
show.
Reynolds.
Yes.
I mean, look at him with Begbie from Trainspotting.
Yeah, I know.
Robert Carlyle.
What is it?
Look at him and Robert Carlyle. Somehow he has great chemistry with him in the worst movie ever made. One of the worst. Do you know what? Actually, that film's kind of a guilty.
Which one?
The 51st State.
Oh, I've never
That's
seen that
the movie
film.
with Sam Jackson in a kilt.
I've not seen that film.
Oh, okay.
I have to admit.
Yeah, and I mean, look at him with Colin Firth.
Yes.
He just has great chemistry with people. I mean, look at him with Yoda. Yeah. Somehow he had great chemistry with Yoda.
A CG character, yeah.
With a character that wasn't even there. Anyways, we're way off track again. I'm way off track.
Where were we?
I don't know. Do you have anything else to say? Other than like, look, everybody needs to watch this movie.
Yeah, you've just got to watch this movie.
This movie's kind of a masterclass.
Yeah.
Brian Cox. We haven't mentioned Brian Cox. Brian Cox isn't in it for much, but he has one of the best speeches. The bit where the dog is there's a bit where he's just sitting there eating, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if that supposed to be his mother, his aunt, his wife, his what? Because she seems like a very old and confused lady. But she's got her little dog, and the dog is doing that thing where it's chewing its own ass. And he's like, your dog has been doing that for 3 hours. I can promise you anything there merits no more than an hour. Whatever's there. It's either there to stay or gone for good. He's like, what's wrong with my dog?
And that's the thing. This movie is funny.
This movie is yes. It's not even one of those movies where it's funny from start to finish.
Yeah.
It's not because like Sam Jackson turns up that suddenly it's a funny movie, or Brian Cox turns up it's suddenly a funny movie. Geena Davis is hilarious in that. She has perfect comic timing. There's something I noticed in this movie that's kind of maybe I've recognized in retrospect is that they take fight training these days in movies
Oh, yes.
a hell of a lot more seriously.
Seriously, yeah, totally.
And, you know, she did the majority of her own stunts, but you can tell there wasn't a massive amount of fight training involved in this. Because when she is in the fight, when it's her, not a stunt person, the fights are slow. They are...
Clunky a little bit.
Yeah, and they're simple. It's a clothesline to the chest. Yeah. It's a shoulder throw, a judo throw, shoulder throw.
It's not as intricate as we would see it now. I mean, if
it's not
John Wick.
It's not the Bucky Cap fight scene.
No.
In Winter Soldier, you know that bit with the knife and when he puts the knife in the van. There's that bit where it's just blocks, and then he drops the knife from one hand to the next and carries on, and you know it's not that sort of level of choreography. You know, they take fight training a hell of a lot more seriously now. So you know, but despite that, it's still like...
I still love that film.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got so much heart in it as well.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't, but, you know, I mean, for an action movie, yes, it's about mothers and daughters, and I suppose it falls into that heart category.
Yeah, that family.
Family category, yeah.
Vin Diesel's favourite category.
But it has. I mean, there are points in that movie where you just like, man, I want to cry right now.
That bit where she's trying to spark the kerosene, and she just breaks down.
Yeah,
you know, she's got the crowbar and she's banging it on the floor trying to spark the kerosene.
I mean, even like you said, when at the end when the daughter, Mum,
get up. Life is pain.
Again, that pulls at your heartstrings because you know this. You can see Charlie fighting for her life at that moment because she can hear her daughter.
And that bit as well after all the action.
Yes.
Where before they changed the original ending, in the original ending, Sam Jackson's character dies.
Oh.
But that bit where they're in the car, they've driven into Canada, he's bleeding out and he's beaten and everything like that, and he's like, "You have your mama's eyes. Don't let anybody tell you different," and stuff like that. And you're like, "Oh my God, Sam, stop! You're killing me here, man. You're killing me." Apparently, test audiences didn't like him dying at the end, so that's why there's that scene afterward where he's with on Larry King.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm always frank and earnest. I'm frank in Chicago, earnest in New York. There's a lot of misogyny in that film.
Yeah.
There is a lot of misogyny in that film, but
at least they deal with it. Some of it's called out.
Yeah, exactly. She does. This is it though. I do believe that you can have misogyny written into a film as long as it's addressed as so.
Yeah.
You know,
and they do that consistently.
And it can, and when you do that, it could almost be educational. Weirdly, it seems for misogynists, it comes easier in a film written and directed by men. You know, it's like it's that whole thing of like sometimes like a woman calls something out as sexist and the misogynists are like, nah.
Yeah.
But if
a man does it,
but if their peers kind of go, no, dude, that is kind of sexist.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's a stupid distinction, but
it's there.
Yeah.
It's definitely there.
Yeah. So you know, I do think there is space within storytelling to have misogyny as long as it's addressed. And it's not just kind of like, ha ha, whatever. It's like, ha ha, classic misogyny, and just move on. You know, it's not, like that scene, the catcalling scene. Yeah. She calls him out on it. And she points out the absurdity of the whole situation. Like, look, you don't get anything out of it. She
definitely doesn't get anything out of it.
She definitely doesn't get anything out of it. What's the point? Yeah, and he dismisses it as it's a guy. And do you know what? If you can't understand how stupid that is, you have no scope to grow. You're just stubborn.
Yeah. How do you think this movie would be made now? Could it be made now? Or does it need to be made now?
Okay, that's three different questions. Right. How would it be made now? I think now it would be made pretty much the same, but with better fight choreography.
Yes.
But beyond that, I think it could be made exactly as it is today, and it would be just as good. Could it be made now? Definitely. I think as I said, we are in this renaissance of female-led action movies. I think
I think it'll be real.
I think
a very good movie to make.
Yeah, I think that movie as it is, would definitely be made now.
Oh yeah.
It could be the Black Widow movie. And what was the third one?
Do you know what? I can't remember. Does it need to be made now?
No.
Do you think we're moving forward again now?
I think we're moving forward enough that there are enough in the pipeline that we don't need a remake of something from 20 odd years ago.
I agree.
You know, there is enough excitement and enthusiasm and interest in these kind of movies now.
And we've had Wonder Woman. We've now had Captain Marvel.
Yeah, but we're moving forward away from. The thing is, Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman are the results of this kind of slow boil that's been going on for a little while now. We've had. And we're not just talking about comic book movies. I mean, even things like silly movies like The Spy Who Dumped Me. I mean, we're still going to frame it as this kind of romantic comedy thing, but we still have the action movie thing.
I also think it's kind of bleeding out from TV, because a lot of female-led action movies and action stars, that a lot of it comes from TV. We started off at Buffy. Yeah,
we said in our last episode as well that there's always been good representation. Yeah. There's always been, I won't say good, but better representation of women action heroes on TV.
I think it's just bleeding out a bit more into the movie industry.
Yeah, I mean, there's talks of like an A-Force movie, which is the all-female Avengers team. And and it's not just comic book movies as well.
I hope it's not just comic book movies, because I'd love to see a female version of a Jason Bourne or...
But we've always had people like Angelina Jolie and Charlize Theron kind of pushing for those kind of roles. Yeah. I mean, Angelina Jolie was in that position of being able to make the roles herself, and that's why Drew Barrymore went into producing as well, because she wanted to make more roles for herself.
Yeah.
Charlie's Angels isn't a perfect example, but it's still, it still matters.
It's a fine film.
No, but the thing is, I think the problem audiences and studios have with these kind of when discussing these kind of movies is that we don't judge them on the same merits we judge every other action movie.
Does gender have to play a role in it?
What I mean by that is it has to be perfect. It has to be groundbreaking. It can't be just a silly popcorn movie like Charlie's Angels. Charlie's Angels is a silly popcorn movie, but with three pretty awesome female leads. The actresses are awesome, and they're just having fun in this movie. But because it wasn't groundbreaking, and that's what we do when we talk about films like Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel. It didn't break any new ground. Yeah, but neither does any other superhero action movie. No, it doesn't. The only reason we even say that is because we hold them up to a much higher standard than we do every other action movie. Yeah. If there was a female-led Fast and Furious movie, which they're actually in talks to do, we're going to hold that movie up to a much higher standard than we hold up every other Fast and Furious movie.
That whole thing runs with Ghostbusters. Okay, Ghostbusters, a female Ghostbusters wasn't a great movie. Yeah. But I quite enjoyed it. It's a fine film. It's fine.
The thing is, though, how many action comedies starring men come out every year, and if they're not great, we're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But when a female-led action comedy comes out, and it's not great, we take that as, they get judged on the merits of their entire category. That's why female-led action comedies are no good.
But the problem is that they get berated before they're even out.
Yeah, I know, and that's an incredibly unrealistic standard to hold movies to. If we as an audience and we as studios hold female-led action movies and female-led action comedies and just
anything.
Do you know what? In fact, let's not even just say female-led, because the same thing happened with Black Panther.
Yes, it is.
Just anything that isn't led by the generic male character or male ensemble. If we judge them on those merits or by those standards, they're never going to win.
No.
I'm sorry, guys. Maybe we shouldn't drink while we're doing this. Because
I kind of like it, though. Considering this is the only time we actually drink.
Yeah, this is literally the only time we drink. Okay. So should we put a pin in that now?
Yes, let's put that.
I think that's a prelude to a much bigger discussion at another time.
It'll probably come up as and when during the podcast anyway.
Yeah. I think this is going to be the thing that keeps peppering our podcasts. Tom's self-righteous rants.
My hero.
So, we didn't discuss this at the top of the episode, but
No.
We did our homework.
We did.
Your homework was to read the 2014 run of Captain Marvel.
I think I read the first 9 issues.
That's a good shout.
Still need to read more.
What did you think?
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun to read.
Was the Carol Danvers in that book as recognisable?
Yeah, do you know what?
Did you recognise traits?
I recognised her and her kind of humour with Brie Larson's character. They're very, very similar in that effect.
Yeah,
and
right.
I also recognise where and characters that they have and who they put together. Like Marvel, for example. Marvel represents 2 or 3 different characters from the comic itself.
There's something in her character power set in the comics they didn't actually touch on at all in the film.
Right.
That suddenly occurs to me might play into Endgame.
Time travel.
No, if you remember, one of her abilities is she absorbs power.
Yes.
And she can shoot it back. Now imagine he's shooting laser beams from his gauntlet or whatever. I wonder if they'll integrate that into Endgame. That she is able to absorb energy and basically use it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, we don't really get... I mean, the movie doesn't show the representation of her uniqueness, her power set.
Well, then again, do you remember...
But then she's vulnerable as well.
Yeah, but do you also remember as well, in the movie, she's not really sure what she's capable of yet.
She isn't.
So, I mean, it's only at the end of the movie that she really starts to kind of, like, use her powers. Because she's been trying to kind of almost sort of, like... deny them for most of the movie. But
the comic shows that she is vulnerable.
Oh yeah, all superheroes are vulnerable.
Yeah, I know.
What's her vulnerability?
I mean, when she's underwater, I think this is after the first. So I think it's like the first 5 runs are to do. It's like a retcon, not retcon, but there's like an introduction to her origin. But they do it as a time travel story.
Yeah.
Kind of jars me a little bit.
Yeah, it can be very confusing.
Like, I thought, what's going on? I don't know. But yeah.
Did you see Monica?
You see Monica Rambeau.
Yeah.
And it's Rambeau that saves her from the water. Because this is water monster. And it's Rambeau that has to come to her rescue. So she is vulnerable, even though she could possibly be the most powerful Marvel superhero in the Marvel universe.
No matter how powerful you are, you'll always have an Achilles heel. Yeah.
But I mean,
otherwise you're a boring character.
I love Rambeau in this, and I wish we saw more of this power set with the character in that. But we don't know.
Monica is going to be grown up by now, so hopefully we will see Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, that's true.
I really love Carol Danvers' character.
I do too.
I stopped reading when they did this storyline where she has a schism in her brain.
Right.
And essentially, the only way to save her is to purge her personality. So
I've not got that far.
Yeah, so what happens is she becomes somebody else. She has all of Carol's memories, but none of the association. It's almost like it's like she's seen everything Carol's been through and remembers everything, but she doesn't. So
she doesn't feel it.
Yeah,
so when she's
around her friends, she remembers the friendship, but she doesn't feel the connection with them.
Which kind of plays into who she is in the movie.
Yeah, I know it does, but it's different because she's cold.
Yeah.
She's distant, and and suddenly her character just changed from one issue to another, and it just really put me off. And I should have stuck with it because now she is who she is. And then we have the Civil War II storyline and things like that, and I should have stuck with it, but I don't know. I just found that change quite frustrating.
The thing is, Brie Larson's character and Carol Danvers in the comics are very similar.
Yeah,
she's funny.
She's
I mean,
well
they're very well written in terms of each other.
She's very well adapted.
Yeah, very well adapted. And
the art. What did you think of the artwork?
The artwork is amazing.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? It kind of reminds me of that MTV sort of Aeon Flux that animation style they did in the 90s for MTV. There was a few late night MTV anime.
Yeah,
and
I remember those.
But a much more scratchy version.
It's not as compelling or as fast paced as I'd probably like it to be.
It's very character driven.
It is very character driven.
Especially so it takes Wendy.
Yeah. And things like that.
The jacket.
Did
you recognise the jacket?
I did recognise the jacket.
Her leather jacket, her flight jacket. Yeah.
I did. But it's an interesting story, and I'd like to go back, but I don't think I can read it in a batch. I think I have to go back. I think I have to go backwards and forwards.
It's funny. It's the same. You know, it's issue length, but there is so much information to take in.
There's too much information to take in.
You know, it's very kind of like that old school style of comic book writing where you got this big action set piece going on with a ton of exposition being thrown at you.
Yeah, and I think that's how I'm going to have to read it next.
Yeah.
That's why I only got through it 9 issues, is because I had to take a step back to understand what was going on.
You have to catch your breath after a few episodes.
You do. It's very... But the thing is, it's not pacey. It's just a lot of information to digest and relationships to take in. A lot of introspection as well. Yeah. I mean, you know, the first whole thing is, do I take the name Captain Marvel?
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
and there's so much introspection, so much of her like standing alone and thinking, or flying alone and thinking.
And it's like, yes, I'm going to do it, and then she ends up in the past.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm Captain Marvel. Who? What? Who are you?
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
That's one of the things I love about like comic runs. Okay, so they have like this dilemma, right? And then it's almost like in the writing room, like and then. Yes, and then she accepts her name. Great. This guy wants to write a time travel story, so maybe after that moment we just... There we go.
That's how it felt, I have to admit.
Okay.
You know, it would have been nice to see her settle into that name and then do time travel.
If you think about like comics as like a soap opera...
I'd rather not.
No, think about it as a soap opera. There's always got to be something to bring readers back to the next issue. So no matter like how you know defined a story is, there's always the next cliffhanger.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is why I prefer like one shots and graphic novels and things like that.
You read
A Study in Emerald.
Yes.
And I freaking loved it.
Score for me.
You always pick the best books. You never read them.
No. I will.
But you always pick the best books for me. So Study in Emerald, okay, it's a Sherlock Holmes... I'm not going to say it's a Sherlock Holmes story. It's a Sherlock Holmes-esque story set in a Lovecraftian reality. So,
nice.
So basically, it's an alternate universe. It's not England, it's Albion. I don't know why. It's actually, you only figure out that it's an alternate universe as the story progresses. You know,
when you say Albion, I think of West Brom.
Things unfold in a very kind of like, we know kind of way. So in A Study in Scarlet, or in the Sherlock episode Study in Pink, they find this body and they've written the word Rache in blood. Except in Sherlock, it's Rachel.
Yeah.
So stupid. It means revenge.
Yes.
In German. But, you know, this blood is green, and no one seems fazed by it. And I'm like, am I missing something? And it turns out, in this reality, the Cthulian old gods, you know, they appeared centuries ago. Everyone knows about them. And they're basically all royal heritages are the old gods. So, you know, this is during Victorian times, and Queen Victoria is like this squid monster, you know, who wears a human mask. A human mask. So, you know, so
that lizard theory couldn't be right then.
Well, they're octopuses.
Okay.
They're squid monsters.
Squidwards.
Yeah. No, that's yeah, that's Dr. Zoidberg. Sorry, this Squidward. So they're all bored and disaffected. But you know, when they say like, "Oh, I know the victim is of royal heritage because of the color of their blood," it's all very accepted as the norm. So it took me a little while to catch up with the story as it was progressing, and the story is framed as you're reading a Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson story, and Dr. Watson is telling the story. But then at the end, it turns out that no, this wasn't Holmes and Watson. This was Moriarty and Sebastian Moran.
Oh wow!
Because he never refers to they're never referred to by name. It's just my friend or the detective and the doctor.
So you presume?
Yeah, exactly. You presume until at the end they kind of. This is the thing I love about Neil Gaiman's writing is he kind of makes a suggestion. And you draw your own conclusions, and as you're going through the story, you're kind of going through the story on your own assumptions. Everything every new bit of information, you're interpreting it through your assumptions. And then at some point in the third act, he suddenly pulls the rug out from under your feet, and you realize everything you assumed was wrong. He did that in 1604. He's done that in a lot of issues of The Sandman. He's done it in so many things. And in this one, he did it, again, just as always, brilliantly. He did it in Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader.
Yeah.
There's this one chapter told from Alfred's point of view, and it really messes with your head. I think it took me about a year and a half to shake it off. So every time I read a new Batman story, I always read it through that. That lens. Because Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader is, it's Batman is dead, and everyone is giving their eulogies, and Alfred explains that all of it was a pantomime. That Alfred was in fact the Joker, and all the villains were players in his theatre group. Because Bruce Wayne was so broken and so traumatized by the murder of his parents, he needed something to focus on. So he created the persona of the Joker to give his master something to focus on. And it took me about a year and a half to shake that off. And every time I read something, I was like,
"Is this Alfred?"
Damn you, Alfred. So Study in Emerald is. And the artwork is gorgeous as well. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Who's the artist?
Raphael Albuquerque.
Ooh, what a great name. But do you turn left or right?
And do you turn left at Albuquerque? And I'm trying to remember if he was actually involved in my favourite Joker graphic novel, Albuquerque. I think he is.
Possibly.
It's a graphic novel just called The Joker. And again, it's one of those. It's a different spin on it. It's where it's told from the point of view of one of Joker's henchmen, who's basically just driving him around after he's been released from prison.
Oh wow!
Why anyone would release the Joker from prison is beyond me. But anyway.
Okay, so our homework is a joint assignment this week.
Yes, because we are going to have some guests on the podcast soon. Not in the next one, because the next one is our Endgame podcast.
Hopefully, if we get to see her.
No, we will get to see her.
We get to see her.
Come hell or high water. If I have to burn that place to the ground just so I can see it, no, I would never do that.
No, you would not.
But our next podcast, we're actually going to do this because we've fallen behind due to illness. We're going to do 3 consecutive ones: one this week, one next week, and the one week after, and then we'll go back to our every 2-week schedule. But the one after the next one, we're going to be sitting down with the founders of Oneshi Press, which is an independent comic publisher. We're going to be talking to them about their recent release of a book called Tracy Queen. It's a very interesting book, but we both need to brush up on it.
Indeed.
I have the Oneshi Press Annual. I'm a patron of theirs, and I kicked in with one of their Kickstarters. I've been a fan of their work for a while. Jail Draco is kind of a cool streamer. I've never actually engaged in one of his streams.
Oh, but that's because
I'm a lurker on his streams. I find him, I'm kind of in awe of him a little.
Oh.
So so even though we've arranged all this through Discord and stuff, I still haven't we need to arrange a chat with him, and it is a kind of a we're not worthy sort of vibe with him.
That's what I'm doing, by the way, in the background. You're not worthy.
Yeah. So when I have caught his streams, I've just kind of looked and quietly in the background. And I'm in his Discord, but I never talk.
Oh my goodness.
So we're going to have them on the podcast.
Yay! Can you get over your nerves?
I'm going to have to, because I'm actually going to have to talk to him
You
on the
are.
podcast. So yeah, our homework is to brush up on the Oneshi Press stuff that we have in the house.
Indeed.
So we have, so we can actually sound like we know what we're talking about. Yeah. And we're also going to have not only Jail, his partner, Lindsay. They're both going to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about stuff that they like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and books that they like. So yeah.
So this should be fun.
Yeah. So that's our homework.
I'm actually looking forward
to prepare for that podcast.
I'm actually looking forward to doing something. This is quite new to us, even though it's quite early into the career. But there we go.
Oh no,
it'll be a lot of fun
for a while. It's early in our career.
Yeah, that's what I mean in our career.
Yeah, but yeah. So if you want to find us on social media, you can find me on Twitter at FrenchieBalls.
I'm at Amara Lives.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
You always get that wrong. It's Amara_secrets.
There we go.
You are Amara_secrets. I was thinking we need to get a theme tune as well, so I'm going to be working on that for a little while.
Sorry, that's just me being dumb.
No, I think that one's taken actually. Yeah, just find us on social media, and we'll leave links down below. I'll leave a link as well for the Star Wars. What was that? What was the song? What's Up Danger? The Star Wars What's Up Danger trailer.
The doobly doos is what it's called.
Yeah.
In the link belows.
In the link to lose. That's what we call it. The link to lose.
Yes.
Is there anything else? Am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so.
I'll leave a Amazon Associates link as well down below. So if you want to
buy any of the movies,
we've discussed, we'll get a little something for it in return. I think I'm going to try and look at relaunching the Patreon, so I'll leave a link for that as well.
Yes.
And so until next time, it's goodbye from her.
And it's goodbye from him. I love you.
I love you too.